Ray from Whimsical Pictures here, and today I am going to bring you my TBR for the, I think, 5th round of the Manga Madness Readathon. I will be participating in this mainly on Twitter, maybe a little bit on Instagram, and then hopefully at the end of the week I will have a vlog for y'all. This TBR video is coming a day late and $1 short, but that's okay. I have my manga bingo board written out here with all of the titles that fit for the categories. I'm not being very strict with myself this time. I do have a busy week, as per usual. So there are manga that I am squeezing in for multiple categories. But I think that's okay. So first we have the category for a hyped manga, and that is going to be me continuing the series I read for the Manga Love Readathon last weekend, Ao no Furagu. I'm going to read hopefully volumes 4 and 5. I am completely addicted to this series after volume 3. So, I'm really eager to read the latest 2 volumes. Then, for an author or artist I haven't read before, this is called Boga Ippon. It's a collection of stories from, like, 1988 or something to 1997. And it is by a very well-known alternative manga artist called Takano Fumiko, and these stories look like they're about modernity and isolation and living in the city, relationships between maybe husbands and wives, and I really like the art style. It's very simplistic, but very practiced. And there was just these images in one of the stories of, like, the city at night that were very evocative to me and made me really eager to read this. The Japanese in this book is a little higher level than what I usually read, so this is kind of a challenge for me. So I don't know if I'll finish the whole thing, but it is there if I want to read it. Next category we have is battle, martial arts, or sports. And so I have picked a 1-volume sports manga. This is called Break the Border, and this is the sequel to Echoes, which won the Kono Manga ga Sugoi prize a couple years ago. And I read that one and I was not very impressed by it, but I wanted to make sure to read this 2nd volume to solidify my thoughts on it. It's a little volume, so I don't think it'll take a lot of time to get through. There are a lot of, like, basketball heavy pages that don't have a lot of dialogue on them at all. So this should be a very quick and easy read, regardless of whether I like it or not, which we'll see. That also fits for LGBTQ protagonist because the main character is a trans boy. Next, we have drama, action, or adventure. And for this, I am going to read, hopefully, volumes 1 and 2 of Itsuwari no Freya. This is something I had on my TBR from last week, if you want to hear more details about it, but it seems to be a shoujo fantasy series set in, like, a medieval England kind of setting with a heroine who has to dress up as her brother and become a knight. So that seems very dramatic and very fantastical, so here's hoping. Next, we have fantasy or paranormal, and for this, I am reading an English volume, and that is Yona of the Dawn, Volume 11. I have volumes 11 through 15, so I can continue with the series if I want to, but I'm not going to pressure myself to read past Volume 11, because this TBR is quite large as it is. I love the series. It's one of my favorite ongoing series right now, and I'm eager to read more. Next, we have mystery, thriller, or psychological, and I see that I forgot to put this in my pile. But that's fine. You can imagine what it looks like. It is Detective Conan, the Toru Amuro collection. So this is a collection of stories from Detective Conan, which, if you don't know, is a very episodic, sort of cozy mystery series about a boy named Conan Edogawa, who is 6 years old, but he's actually 17-year-old Shinichi Kudo, trapped in the body of a 6-year-old. And he fights crime. But this selection is specifically a lot of stories that involve the character of Toru Amuro, who was heavily featured in the most recent Detective Conan film. But I had not read any stories with this character before, so I picked up this collection from the convenience store. And yeah, I like a good cozy mystery, and Conan is, it has very simple Japanese, so that I think it's quite a chunky book, but I think it'll be a good choice for readathon otherwise. Then next we have horror, demons, or vampires, and for that, I have the second collection of Devilman. The devastating conclusion. So, oh no, the Nationalist Party bus is going by. I'm gonna pause this for a sec. Boy, they are really worked up about something. That was legit like 5 minutes. Anyway, hopefully they don't come back. They will. But hopefully not before I finish this video. Anyway, I'm gonna read Devilman. Yeah, I loved Devilman Crybaby, and I loved the first half of this. I'm so happy we're getting so much Go Nagai in English now, and Leiji Matsumoto and all these classic creators. And I hope we get more and more. So I'm excited to read this. It's a chunker, but it is in English. Next we have manga featuring manga or otaku culture. So I'm going to read the second volume of Metamorphose no Engawa. So it's this one. If you've seen it going around Twitter, this is the Fujoshi Oba-chan manga. It is about friendship between this elderly woman and a high school girl who share a love of BL manga. And this volume is going to start with them going to Tokyo to a BL event. And the first volume was so much more charming and heartwarming and wonderful than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was just going to be like the one joke over and over again, but it is so much more than that. I absolutely understand why this was nominated for Kono Manga ga Sugoi, and I highly recommend it. And I'm super excited to read this volume, so that is one that I'm hoping to get through. And then next we have a character who is transported to another world. And it seems I forgot to grab this one too. But this is Fushigi Yugi Byakugen, Volume 1. I've had this forever and I still have not read it. I think the second volume, the second half of it, is going to come out this year sometime. Last I heard. But this is the... So, the original Fushigi Yugi is about the countries that are sort of presided over, I guess, watched over by the gods Suzaku and Seiryu. And then the prequel series, Genbu Kaiden, was about Beijia, the country that is watched over by the god Genbu. So there's only one more god left. This is the universe of the four gods, and that god is Byakko. And this story, the main character is much younger than the girls from Fushigi Yugi or Genbu Kaiden. She's like a little girl. So I think that this is going to be a lot less romance heavy, and it seems that she has a much more personal relationship with her god, who appears to be this like hot chick who turns into a tiger, which I'm into. And I am interested to read this, of course. It's only going to be 2 volumes long, so I have the first half of it. And that is like the UR, like, character transported to another world manga, so you can't get much more isekai than Fushigi Yugi. Read 2 volumes of the same series, so I've got both Itsuwari no Freya and Ao no Furagu for that. But I do have multiple volumes of a lot of these series, so we'll see what I end up getting into. Next we have centered around folklore or mythology. Obviously, Fushigi Yugi would work for that. But also, so would this one-shot, which is Tsukikage no Choujo. This isn't a one-shot, it's a collection of short stories, but they're sort of set in ancient China and have a lot of Chinese mythology in them. Now, this Ima Ichiko is a creator that I really want to get into, and I just haven't. So I'm starting with a collection of short stories so that I don't have to commit to a longer series. And also, just look at that cover, it's gorgeous. Next, we have Manga with an Animal Companion. This is a reread that was also on my TBR last week, and this is Yurikuma Arashi. Volume 1 is the only one I'm going to put on my TBR, but I do have all 3. And in this one, the animal companions are the girls. They turn into cute little bears. But I definitely think this counts for a wide variety of reasons, not the least of which that the director of the anime, Ikuhara, always includes animal companions in his anime. And even if you don't want to count the main girls, we also have these 3 patriarchy bears on the back. You can make the joke of, like, it represents patriarchy, except this time it's literally true. In, like, the most obvious way possible, which is great. I don't know how much they feature. They don't feature that much in the manga. Anyway, the next one is... They're back! Oh my god! Hang on. They are really worked up today. Someone tell me what's happening, and they were talking about Christianity? I don't know. Anyway, the next one is manga set outside of Japan. So for this, I am going to read a manga set in ancient Egypt. That is Aoi Horusu no Hitomi. Aoi Horusu no Hitomi. So this is about Hatshepsut, and it seems to be somewhat sort of fictionalized version of the story of Hatshepsut, but like any manga that's about Hatshepsut is like, I am down. She's one of my favorite historical figures, so yeah, I am excited to read this. It has quite a few volumes out, so if I enjoy this one, I'm definitely going to get more. Next, we have a manga that is older than me. There's a couple on this list that count for that because I am a slut for classic shoujo manga, but I'm going with Star Red by Moto Hagio. It's a space opera by her, and I am eager to read it because the pictures of Star Red that were in her SF Arts art book were super gorgeous, and I'm excited to see what kind of story this is. Next, a main character who transforms. This doesn't happen until a little bit later, but the main character of Land of the Lustrous definitely counts for this. And I have quite a few volumes of this to read, so yeah, I hope to get to at least one of them. I love this series. I loved the anime a lot, but obviously I'm very behind on the manga. I love this creator's Haruko Ichikawa's paneling. It's like so inventive and so retro. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Next, we have a manga by 2 or more authors. This one is by story by Etsuko Ikeda and art by Yuho Ashibe, and this is the first volume of Bride of Deimos. This is a 70s shoujo horror manga that was released by Comics One. It's very hard to find, so I was very, very excited that I found Volume 1 used for very cheap, and I am excited to read this. Definitely got a glowing recommendation from Laura at Manga Hoarder, and this is like exactly the kind of shit that I love. Next is a genre you don't normally read. I don't have anything in my I'm very strict about what I buy, so I don't have a lot of things that are like genres that I don't normally read, because I'm pretty picky about what I'm gonna actually spend money on, and I do want to read my collection this time. So I just put Ao no Furagu for this because I really don't read shonen romance that often, and this was an exception for me. And maybe an indication I should read it more often. We have the oldest manga in my collection, which I think is actually Saint Rosalind, which is a 60s manga, or Orochi by Kazuo Umezu, but I don't feel like reading those. So I went with one of my 70s manga, and it is one of Moto Hagio's earliest manga, and that is Juichigatsu no Gimunajiumu, which is sort of a prototype story for The Heart of Thomas, and I am interested in reading it pretty much strictly for that reason. I don't I expect it to be pretty rough, and it does appear to be a very similar story to The Heart of Thomas. So, but because The Heart of Thomas is like one of my all-time favorite manga, I expect I will find something interesting in this. For LGBTQ main character, a few of these would count Break the Border, Ao no Furagu, but I did put the first volume of Yurikuma Arashi on here for that. Manga with a name in the title. Again, multiples of these would work. Bride of Deimos, Aoi Horus, but I put Yona of the Dawn. Manga by my favorite mangaka. That's Moto Hagio, so either Juichigatsu no Gimunajiumu or Star Red. I also have This Isn't a Manga, but it is likely that I'll read it. So if this is a long interview with her, like long, her and like members of her family and stuff, so I am interested to read this. So that might be what I read for that also. And a manga you've been meaning to read would be any of these, but I put the 4th volume of Takane no Ransan, which is an ongoing series that this is the latest volume of, so I want to be caught up with the series again. It's quite simple Japanese, so it's easy to read, and I just didn't get around to it last week. It was also on my TBR last week, so we'll see if I get to that one or one of the other ones for that category. Adapted to live action. As far as I know, the only one on my list that is like that is Yona of the Dawn, which is getting a stage play. I don't remember if it started already. I think it has. Adapted to anime or game, there's a couple of those on this list, but I went with Land of the Lustrous. And for no adaptation is most of the things on this list, but I put Itsuwari no Freya for that as well. So there is some overlap, but this is still a pretty huge TBR for me, with lots of options to continue with the series that I get particularly invested in. My goal is to complete one bingo. It is going to be a busy week for me, so I don't know how many of these I'm going to get through. If I could get through around 5 volumes, that would be awesome. But I'm looking forward to all of these. Let me know which of these you've heard of, which you've been interested in. which you would like to see in English if they're not. And I will hopefully see you at the end of the week with a wrap up. Bye, guys.